Welcome to the last regular season edition of the Parkway Grill 1standtrn High School Football Roundtable. And of course, since it's the last week of the regular season, it's the week for the biggest game in town, Coyotes Rider Week. Andy, what do you think? You're the one that's been out to the campus. What do you think right now? Coyotes have a chance?
A chance.
Yeah,
they had a little chance against Lake Dallas. Offense didn't show up that night, and they've got about that same chance Friday night. Ryder's the favorite because Ryder has the most balanced offense in the district. But I mean, I think we'll see the most explosive plays we've seen both ways in one of these games in quite a while.
What would you over and under on the points?
75.
75. Wow, that's pretty good. Let's be interesting. Next week, let's write that down.
I was gonna say I'll go over.
You go over.
We set the over under on the Old High Lake Dallas game somewhere around 90. It did barely, I think, got under it. So
wow,
there's gonna be a lot of scoring, I think, in this game. I mean, Old High's gonna get some points on the board. They're not, Denton Ryan, kind of shut them down pretty well the other night. They're not gonna get like 7 or 13 points probably, right?
Yeah, that Denton Ryan game wasn't even a good dress rehearsal. So I mean,
losing Blake Braun is going to hurt Ryder some. The defense, especially having somebody in the secondary and he plays as hard as he plays. It's got to hurt. Got to hurt a little bit to lose a player like that. Yeah, I think I'd still go over. Yeah, that's strange. 75, and we're going to go over because I really think that Ryder will hang 50 on Wichita High. Now they may score 35 themselves, which would be 85 there. But I don't think they're going to. I don't think the Coyotes are going to keep Ryder under 50. JT Barry's playing very, very well. They're getting some contributions out of other guys, off their bench, and they're coming in and doing some things. Number 41, and I can't remember his name.
Mosley Pop.
He's pretty good. He's a pretty good runner. He comes in, gives them a little bit more power than they've had. It seemed like. And I still think Wagner's a pretty good power runner, even though he's not big.
Wagner's an excellent player. Excellent. Yeah. Both ways, can catch it too.
Yeah, and every time I see highlights on Channel 3 on Friday night, I see Chance Gary making a Wes Welker type, spectacular catch, and I'm interested in watching him play. I haven't seen the Coyotes in quite a while. It's going to be interesting being in the press box, watching them play Ryder Friday night.
When we saw, I don't know what Ryder's going to do, when we saw Lake Dallas play Old High, Lake Dallas was able to generate a lot of pressure on Sheffield, only rushing 3 people. And, if you can generate that much pressure, not bringing the house, I saw Denton try to bring the house some, and Sheffield picked them apart, and you got me and George on the secondary. But I don't know how Ryder's going to play him, but.
Yeah, I think I think you hit on something. I think Dylan McDormand and Keegan Hart, if they can get pressure without them having to blitz, that's a big win for Ryder. If they can't, and they start having to bring linebackers, the linebackers are so key covering against the Coyotes because they like all that short stuff.
I think they will bring linebackers, and I think they will get 5 or 6 sacks. That's my thought. I really don't. I really think Ryder. The interesting thing about this game was something that Andy said yesterday that I hadn't thought about. That Ryder basically has already knocked the Coyotes out of the playoffs. They'd be in the playoffs right now. Kind of like if Ryder had taken care of business and beat Little Elm. Is that right?
Yeah. Old High would only be cheering for Ryan victory over Little Elm this week to be in the playoffs.
Which I think is pretty going to happen pretty easily.
And Ryder would be in.
Ryder would already be in too. Ryder wouldn't be sweating as much this week.
No, Ryder's got to sweat. They have to win the game. They'd already be in, and Coyotes would basically be in, and we'd be playing for a pride game. But I think it's interesting when you come down to this game, and it's one or the other. This is what this basically is. It's one or the other. They're playing for something. We're going to have 13,000 people out there. It's going to be interesting, even though it might be a little cold. It's a fun week. It's a fun game. It's going to be a fun weekend because Midwestern plays an afternoon game against WT, West Texas A&M, Saturday afternoon. So within a space of just a few hours, we're going to have some pretty big crowds, I think, at Memorial Stadium. That's something we don't have a lot. Big crowds.
And I think that will help the crowd that both teams have a chance.
Yeah, I think so. I think the home. Let's see, Wichita High's home team. Riders on the other side.
Yeah.
Yes.
It makes no difference on the home
No.
field advantage on this one.
Both sides look alike. You've seen Ryder more lately, so, and I got to see, I think, one of the best first halves I'd ever seen when Ryder had 459 yards against the Colony, and then you got to see him last week. Have you seen a team hardly this balanced?
Everybody see the team is balanced.
They could run and still hit you with deep passes.
They're a run first team. They're a run first team that can throw. Where the Coyotes are a throw first team that probably can't run very much. But Ryder impressed me defensively. I think they're getting better defensively. I think their offensive line is getting better. I think Ryder from week 1 to week 10, or we want to say week 0 to week 11 or whatever we're in, the first week of last week, that Ryder has got better every week. And the game against Little LLM, where they just couldn't stop the running backs, I'd like to see that game again. I don't think there'd be 51 points out on Ryder.
For Old High to win, let's just talk about, what Old High, they'd have to probably not make any turnovers on offense. Probably, have to win the turnover battle by 2 or 3, if turnover battle's even, they'd have to do that and have to hit some big plays, have to hit about 2 or 3 where, they hit 50, 60, yard, where you don't have to worry about putting a drive together and sustaining, a drive. Just things that Old High would have to do to win have to happen.
I think they need to hit it early. I think they need to put them in a panic mode. For them to win the game, I think they have to score 2 or 3 touchdowns quickly, get them behind in a panic mode,
And make Ryder think they need to
make
throw.
Ryder make mistakes, make them think that they have to throw instead of just running the ball, which they can do very well. JT's a better runner than he is a thrower. But he's a good thrower, but I think that's the only chance that they have is to jump on him quick.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's not, Mathis isn't quite the return man that Chafin was, but he's pretty dangerous. I mean, he took one back against Ryan last week. I don't think they'll kick line drive back there to him where he has a chance. I mean, I think they'll pooch him, I think they'll try to keep him away from big play. I think they'll try to give up, if they have to give up something short, but don't let them hit a big play with Gary down the field. So, I think they'll try to make them drive it. So I don't know if the Coyotes can get the big 60, 80-yard plays.
Give me a score, Andy.
42-28, Ryder.
I was thinking
That's under 75.
No, y'all went over, so I was going to go under.
I'm going to go 51-29.
Before he said I was going to go 49-28. So
You and I right there.
yeah, we're it's
49-28, 51-29, and what was yours again?
42-28.
a lot of touchdowns, basically. Let's just say there's going to be a lot of touchdowns.
Yeah, there's no many quotes for the next morning. It's going to be one of those late games. Glad this starts at 7. How about bounce on jumping ones? So they're bouncing on into Berkmanette, Bojo.
Yeah. Are they really Bojo?
They used to be. Bounce on jumping ones. B-O-J-O. You've never seen that?
I've never seen that, no.
How about Pojo?
I've seen Pojo.
That's the porcupines.
Yeah.
They used to be Bojo.
Who has a chance to make one of the probably most unlikely district title, runs that I think I didn't see it coming. They have to beat Burke this week. If not, there's going to be a 3-way tie probably. But I didn't see this Bowie, district title coming.
No, we had a long podcast where we talked about how it was Burt Burnett and Graham, and then everybody else was way below.
I think we might have thought Vernon was the third place team.
I must not have been here that week.
No, we were wrong on the Vernon third place pick, I think. But Bowie has
I didn't pick Vernon third, did I?
No.
Hopefully.
But Bowie has a chance to do something pretty cool out of Burke Friday night. Burke's gonna be ready to play. They probably didn't like losing to Graham like they did. Burke kind of thought they were gonna run the table maybe. They had these 2 toughest games last though, and they've been scoring on everybody. Graham, Holden, Chafin in TAC was pretty impressive. I think Blaine Kern had 2 catches and Chafin had 69 rushing yards. So very impressive Graham defense the other night. But I'm gonna pick Bowie just because they're playing really well defensively, and I consider them and the Graham defense kind of on the same level. But it wouldn't surprise me if Burke came out there too and hit some big plays and won by a touchdown.
I'm going to pick Burke because they're home, and that's the only reason I'm picking Burke. I saw both those teams play Hershey. Both of them were impressive, against Hershey. Probably Bowie was a little bit more impressive. They were on the road even against Hershey than Burke was, but I still think Burke at home is a hard nut for Bowie to crack.
Yeah.
And I'm going to pick Burke at home to win.
I'm taking Burke slightly too. The interesting thing for me will be if that game's at 3 or 4 points with Burke up late. Is Bowie gonna put the freshman defense in and let them score so they can get the better playoff spot?
The interesting scenario is Bowie and Graham are still vying for that Division I top seed, and if Bowie loses by 6 or less, they will get the harder team, Snyder, in the first round of playoffs. If Bowie loses by 7 or more, they get Brownwood's still going to be a tough game, but it's the easier team out of those two teams.
Do you think those teams actually think that? I mean, you played some, and did you really out there thinking about the points?
The coach knows about it.
Yeah, I don't think players.
If Bowie's down 10 with like 2 minutes left, and they're
they're down 6 late, they're taking an intentional safety.
I don't know
from anywhere on the field.
I think you should have the mindset that we're going to beat anybody anyway. I don't know who they are.
You go into that game thinking that. If Bowie's down 6 late, they're going to probably try to score a touchdown, I think, to win the game and win the title. If they're down 10 though, if they're down 10 with a minute and a half left on their own 30,
they're running the clock out.
I would just say, all right, guys, well, we gave it our best efforts. Let's just run it right up the middle and get out of here.
Then we have a big game between Brownwood Victory and Christ Academy. Which one are you going to win?
That's not going to be a big game, but I will tell you a big game in the city limits will be CVU Nakona for playoff spot. It's a playoff. It's just like Old High Rider.
I was shocked that City View losing to Henrietta a couple weeks ago. I wasn't on your show. I wasn't on the show last week, but I guess City View is a highlight film.
I said it was a toss-up game, I think, at the time. I mean,
you know more about that than we do, but I just seeing highlights of City View, I thought, well, they can take care of Henrietta, but Byron West does a good job at Henrietta.
Yeah, he does a really good job.
And then I thought, they'd go on the road. I picked against them last week. I'm the only nut that picked Nocona to win. So I'm not going to pick Nocona to win this week. I'm going to pick City View to win just because Nocona let me down last week.
I'm going to pick Nocona only because I think it's a toss-up game again, just like the Henrietta game was. I think all 3 of those teams are pretty much toss-up games. Henrietta and Nocona last week a toss-up. Both teams have really great running backs. I'm interested to see who else besides those 2 running backs steps up. And Hayden Hill, the Nocona quarterback's been playing really well. I think he had 150 yards rushing against Henrietta, which is pretty impressive. Fenolio and Brown are going to get their yards, their big plays. But, I'm just going to go, I guess, Nocona just because I think they have, the DJ Corsi's a good freshman, but he's still a freshman sometimes. And, I don't know, it's going to be a great game. I'm just going to go with Nocona on the road.
Is that where you're going to be?
That's where I'm going to be. Interesting fact, since 1997, each of these teams has only made the playoffs once. City View's only made it once, in 2002, and then Nocona made it in, I think, 2007. So one of these teams is getting in, and neither of these programs are really used to getting in.
So you're picking...
I'm going to pick Nocona. I think it's going to be a great game.
I went with Nocona. City View let me down. They let me down a little bit after I'd given them the feature. I thought they were going to do something. I'm going Nocona.
So I'm going with City View, and you 2 are going Nocona, and you and I are going with Burke Burnett trying to sack Zach on the Bowie.
I'll go with Bowie. I think it'd just be really cool if they went 5-0.
It's 3-3 picking Ryder.
Yeah. I mean, Old High's chances 10%. I think Andy and I were talking 10%,
10 or 15%.
Yeah.
I mean, they have.
It's not just oh my gosh, it'd just be the most colossal upset ever or anything like that. I mean,
who has a better chance, Wichita Falls High School or winning beating Ryder, or Herman Cain being the president?
Wichita High.
So his percentage is about the 3%. Well, it's the last week. It just seemed like yesterday it started. It all happened so quick. But next week we'll be back with our first postseason roundtable. Thanks.